That's Alex Norris, Labour MP, Shadow Levelling Up Minister, who joins us now. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Julia. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you very much indeed for joining us live from College Green. Appreciate your time. I want to ask you, in terms of levelling up, one of the good things about levelling up, of course, is getting people into work. Today, we're going to be talking to Grant Shapps in a few minutes about it. We're looking at a brand new Jaguar battery plant. Jaguar Land Rover are going to be building a £4 billion plant in Somerset. It's going to create some 9,000 jobs. Taxpayers are handing over 500 million quid in subsidy, apparently. Do you welcome this move?
Yeah, we welcome this warmly. This will mean skilled jobs at that plant, but also through the supply chain as well. It'll help us meet our net zero requirements. You know, so we think this is a really good story and likely and hopefully how things are going to be in the future as well for our economy. Do
you think things are beginning to look up? We know that the Prime Minister had 5 pledges dealing with the NHS, migrants and lots about the economy back in January. And among those pledges was halving inflation. Finally, some good news on that front today at 7 o'clock from the Office for National Statistics. Inflation having gone down from 8.7% in May to 7.9% in June. It's still sky high, but it's definitely moving now at a pace in the right direction. Is that good news?
I mean, I'd be a bit cautious about that, Julia. I mean, firstly, on the 5 pledges, well, I don't think he's making any of them, and all of them were very basic tests set that he didn't think he could fail. And on inflation, you know, your viewers and my constituents, you know, what they've heard today reflects what they've known all month, and that's that prices are increasing, inflation's stubbornly high. You know, we know that that's to a degree a global phenomenon, but it's much worse in this country because of the economic foundations we've built over the last 13 years. So I don't think that this will be greeted in households up and down the country as good news.
And what would Labour be doing right now if you were in charge to deal with that issue?
Well, I think we have to be careful about right now solutions. Sticking plaster politics is why we're in this mess. We will build, if we're given the chance to lead this country, we will build an economy based on skilled work across all our communities. That's what levelling up really is. Based on jobs of the future, good digital jobs, good jobs in green industries, so that we have that proper good growth and we build, as I say, on a strong bedrock. We've not had that for a long time. The next government must address
people, hold it a second. People are worrying about the prices they're paying right now for their energy bills, for food and the like. I mean, long term, that sounds great, lovely, jubbly, kumbaya. But what would you be doing right now? You're saying it's a sticking plaster, but people do want action right now because they can't pay their mortgage, they can't put food on the table.
Yeah, there are immediate things that can be done, such as with mortgages allowing people by right to extend their terms, to be able to reverse that, to go interest only, to reverse that when they want to. We, of course, you know, you and I have talked about the levy on oil and gas firms many times this year.
Paying for everything.
You know, we've been the ones that have pushed for that. We still think there are significant holes in it. That, again, is immediate relief, but we should not pretend, and I don't think this is kumbaya, I think you're wrong there, Julia, we should not pretend that there is an easy click-your-fingers solution. You know, the government have dug a very, very deep hole, and not to forget the fact they've trashed the nation's finances. We've got an awful lot more we need to do yet.
I can also ask you about migrants. Big issue with the Bibi Stockholm, that barge arriving in Portland in Dorset yesterday. We know that in Edinburgh and Liverpool, 2 Labour councils have blocked 2 cruise ships due to house 1,000 migrants each. They've said, no, thank you, we don't want them there. Where should all of these asylum-seeking migrants arriving on dinghies from Calais, where should they live?
Well, there does need to be a degree of accommodation for them,
Where?
But not anywhere near the scale that we're currently requiring. Well, we've had a variety of uses previously. You know, this is an issue we've managed before. You know, ideally not in hotel accommodation, instead perhaps in the private rented sector. We've got, you know, a degree of that in my community, but the issue is not the locations, it's the numbers. That's why we're in this unprecedented point. It's because the government are not dealing with the backlogs. They're not tackling demand by working enough with the French. They're not smashing the gangs through action on organised crime. And we've just passed a major bit of legislation that doesn't address any of those bits. So no wonder things aren't getting better.
But given that we have those people right now, we're not going to clear that asylum backlog in the next few months. No one thinks that. With the best will in the world, I'm not sure the Labour Party ever got to grips with when they were in charge of the Home Office either. Where should
Julia,
these?
You can't say there's ever anything like this.
Okay, yeah, it's
never anything
it's
like
very
this.
bad.
It's
You're not finding me defending the government on this, but I'm saying, Alex Norris, it's very, very clear.
No,
Where should these people live? You're saying, so not in migrant barges, not on a cruise ship moored off more in the docks at Liverpool or at Edinburgh, but they shouldn't. Lots of people seem to think they shouldn't be in former army barracks, good enough for our soldiers, but not them. You want them in private accommodation. We've already got a shortage of private rental accommodation, and there's already a massive market there, which is being pushed up by this extra demand from the state paying these rents. I mean, where do they all live? There aren't enough homes for people who already are here.
No, we have to process more quickly. There is no other solution beyond quicker processing.
Where do they live until they're processed?
Valid claims,
you've made that point. Where do they live until they're processed?
Yeah.
Do you want them living next door to you? Should we move them? Should we buy up all the houses in Keir Starmer's street and move them in there to make the point? Or where should they go?
Well, as I say, that's been a feature in my community for a very, very long time. So, you know, I'd be very cautious to suggest that wasn't the case. So, you know, there does have to be, you know, people need places to live while they're treated with dignity and humanely. But sticking, you know, I've got people who've come to me in my surgeries who've been waiting 2 years for a decision. That's why we've got this. That's why we've got this demand issue that we have. Well, we have to tackle that. Anything else won't address it.
If they got a decision, they'd appeal it. They'd still be here anyway. Can I ask you about Nigel Farage? After Nigel Farage revealed this 40-page dossier of documents under a subject access request with the Information Commissioner, basically got Coutts to reveal the real reason why they closed his bank account. And the real reason is he doesn't align with their values, they say. They mention Brexit. They mention his relationship with Trump, LGBTQ ideology views, his friendship with Novak Djokovic even, net zero. These are all reasons, apparently, where he doesn't align with their inclusive values. Is it acceptable for a private bank, by the way, partly owned by the taxpayer since the bailout in 2008, is it acceptable, then, to close down a bank account of a person in this country because of their political views?
Well, we're still working out the details of this case. I didn't know. I didn't know much until I kind of saw what everyone's seen overnight. I can't comment on a person's banking situation, but I do know that if someone's dissatisfied with how they've been treated by their bank, and I have those issues again in my constituency surgery, the regulator is there. They should avail themselves of the support of the regulator, and they will see whether the bank has operated as they're supposed to.
OK, do you think it's acceptable? Let's take out the specific example of Nigel Farage, for anyone in this country to have their bank account closed down because of their political views?
We cannot be in a situation where individuals do not have access to banking. Everybody, you know, with legitimate sources of income, and I don't think that's in question here, that they have access to, you know, to their own money, somewhere to put it, of course. You know, the individual case and why a bank or a person's in a situation, as I say, I don't think it's a position for politicians to comment on. The regulator's there, they should avail themselves of that service.
You're saying they shouldn't have closed down the account because there is no question over legitimate sources of income. Your colleague, Chris Bryant, on the Labour benches, he has accused, on the floor of the House of Commons, and has refused to retract or withdraw. And, he has accused Nigel Farage of accepting £500,000 or more from the Russian government, which Nigel Farage has denied. There's no evidence for this. Should he withdraw? Should he retract that claim?
No, it's a matter for Chris. You know, I'm the front bench spokesperson, which is why we're having this conversation. Chris is not. You know, Chris is, you know, must use his precious and privileged position in Parliament to act as he thinks best on behalf of his constituents and the country. And, you know, I think he's probably one of the best parliamentarians in that regard.
Is he?
I don't know enough about the individual case to well, I think.
I mean, I'm just saying, I love the I don't know enough about an individual case. We're talking about a major political figure in this country who's had his bank account closed down. The story's been in the news for a month, but you've not bothered to think. You don't think this is a serious attack on our freedom of speech?
I think we need to establish the facts before we rush to what is.
We just have. It's a subject access request.
I believe that's really for the regulator to arbitrate whether that's happened in the right way. Julia, I spent my day today worrying about inflation for my constituents, worrying about huge NHS backlogs. So,
a lot of these problems we've got as a result of lockdowns, and a lot of those results are a result because people were being shut down from having a free debate. Freedom of speech matters. We wouldn't be in a lot of the mess we're in right now if we'd had more freedom of speech on those issues during that time. Alex Norris, I appreciate you joining us, sir. Thank you very much.